There are 7 levers that control fat loss. 2 or 3 of them matter the most, but every single one of them matters when it comes to busting over weight loss plateaus. In this video, I'm ranking every single lever from what I call tier A levers, tier B levers, and tier C levers. Stick around to the end though, because one of the tier A levers should not be one of the ones that you're pulling first. And in the end, I will rank them from which levers you should be pulling first and which ones you should be pulling last. Let's jump into it right away though. Okay, we have 2 tier A levers that you can pull, and these would be the most important ones. The very first one, and this should be pretty obvious, the bust over weight loss plateau, is you simply just eat less. Now, weight loss is pretty straightforward, right? It's obviously complicated, but at the same time, it's straightforward. It's calories in versus calories out. And obviously, if you want to get through a weight loss plateau, you would simply lower the calories down. But here's where most guys really mess this up. We drop the calories way too low. And I made a video on that, so I'll link that at the end. You can check it out. I'm not going to rehash everything I said, but you want to make sure you're doing this in a slow and steady way. So here's what you can do if you're either tracking calories or you're not tracking calories and the scale just won't go down. If you're tracking calories, but the weight loss is still kind of stalled, 2 things you can really do. Number one, of course, just make sure you're tracking correctly, because most people really screw this up. And if you're tracking, if you weren't tracking correctly, then obviously you just kind of go a little more depth and you can kind of pull things out that would lower your calorie counts. But let's say you are, counting perfectly, then all you simply do is lower your calories by 200. So if you had like 2,000, for example, you would have 1,800. Where most people go wrong is we cut it way too much. We went on like 1,500 calories, for example. Now, if you're not cutting calories, there's 2 simple things you can do. Number one, just kind of cut out 1 or 2 low-hanging fruits. So maybe it's like driving back a pizza at 11 p.m. at night, or it's late night snack or late night chips. Or the second thing you do is simply just sub a higher carb source for more of a protein source. So let's say you have like pasta, a few times a week, you would sub that out for more like chicken or salmon or fish, like whatever kind of high protein source you have. But that's simply, guys, how you would pull the lever in terms of lowering the calories a little bit. It doesn't have to be aggressive, and you don't want it to be aggressive, but this is definitely a lever you can pull. But spoiler alert, it's probably not the one you want to pull first, and I'll explain more at the end there. The second tier A lever that you can pull, and this should be an obvious one as well, is you gotta walk more. So again, we talked about calories in, calories out, and obviously to decrease the calories in, we simply eat less, but we also can increase our energy expenditure by moving more. And this is something we kind of sometimes forget. And here's how you're gonna quantify it if this is you, maybe you have a hard time getting your steps. Look at your iPhone, Android, step counter, whatever it is. I know the phone's not perfect because you don't have it on you every single second of the day, but take a look at how many steps you're taking for the next few days or so. And what I want you to do is I want you to increase it by 2,000 steps every single day for the next 30 days. So if you're walking like 6,000 steps per day, I want you at 8. If you're at 8,000, I want you at 10. Now you might be thinking like, oh, Rich, like I'm already over 10,000 steps per day. Like, do I go up to 12,000? More on this later. The answer is no, and that's a lever you want to pull later on. But if you're under 10,000 steps per day, increase by 2,000 steps. Do that for 30 days, and you should see that weight loss plateau slowly start to bust as the days go forward. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the tier B levers, and these obviously wouldn't make as much as an impact as the tier A levers I just talked about. But the first one that you can do is you simply just increase your protein. Now, just eating more protein obviously isn't some magic pill in terms of losing more weight, right? Because if you kept the calories the same as you did previously and you increase more protein, you're obviously going to gain weight. So here's what you're going to do, and here's why proteins can help you in 3 different ways. So the very first thing that you're going to do is you're simply going to swap out more carbs and fats for protein. I kind of hinted at that earlier in the video, but if you do that, there's just a good chance, to kind of backtrack a second here, you're probably overeating on carbs or fats. So if you just kind of have that swap from carbs and fats to protein, your calories should naturally come down because protein is obviously more filling as well. And answer this question, like what's easier to eat, like a chicken breast or a slice of pizza? A slice of pizza, right, with the carbs and fats. So just try to sub out carbs and fats for more protein. And this is obviously if you're not tracking your protein in your calories. The second thing that protein does, and it has something called a thermic effect of food. Now, I'm not going to nerd out too much here, but your thermic effect of food essentially plays a role in how many calories you burn through a given day. What this simply means is if I eat more protein relative to carbs and fats, my body's simply going to burn more energy consuming it and digesting the protein. So for protein, for every about 100 calories you have, your body burns about 25 calories of that. For fats, we're talking about like 0 to 3. And for carbs, I can't remember on the top of my head. I want to say it's like 4 to 6 range. So you can see the difference, right? It's not a ton, but if you have a lot more protein, this adds up over the course of time. And the third thing, I kind of mentioned this before, it just decreases your appetite a little bit. Again, the more protein you have, the more full you're going to feel. So it's the first lever that you can pull for tier B. Still important, but not as important as the other two that I talked about previously. Another tier B lever that you can pull is simply increasing your cardio. Now, admittedly, I am not the biggest cardio fan in terms of fat loss because I would just prefer walking. It's just a lot more low impact on your body. You're not really taxing the nervous system, and you're not going to really kind of get your joints kind of potentially inflamed and overwork the body altogether. But here's what we're going to do if you aren't doing any cardio at all and the number of the scales is completely stuck. If you're doing 0 sessions per week, it's kind of where I'm at right now, admittedly right there, you would just bump it up to 1. And I'll explain what cardio you can do here in just 1 second. If you're at 1 session per week, you can bump up to 2. If you're at 2, you can go to 3. If you're already doing 3 cardio sessions per week, you probably don't need that much more, and this lever wouldn't be as important. But in terms of what cardio you can do, guys, I prefer stuff that's like low impact. So whether it's like a fast-paced walk in the treadmill, maybe some bike work, some rowing stuff. I don't love like high intensity sprinting and stuff like that because all the reasons I just kind of talked about, it just leaves a lot of wear and tear on your body. So find cardio that feels good for you, anywhere between like 15 to 30 minutes, low impact, something you can recover from. And again, just kind of scale it how I just mentioned just a few seconds ago. Okay, we're on a tier C levers now. We got 3 of them. So remember, guys, these aren't as important as the tier B or the tier A. And once I complete these, we're going to rank these in order from which levers you should be doing from first to last. And the very first tier C lever that you can pull potentially is you can add another strength workout. Now, obviously, this would not apply to you if you're working out, lifting weights 4 to 5 times per week already, because you're probably just going to, crash your body at that point. But if you're doing like 2 to 3 sessions per week, then you can get a little bit of a benefit from adding just another strength workouts. Now, I'll admit the calories, the calories output, calories burn will be pretty low. We're probably talking between, 200 to maybe 350, 400 per session. But most importantly, where it could help you a little bit more, it's just your overall body composition. So obviously the number of the scale might not drop a ton, but you might just feel a little more full. The muscles feel a little more tight because you're just giving a little bit more extra stimulus throughout the course of the weeks, and that can accumulate over the course of months. So the very first tier C levers that you can pull if you're under 4 strength workouts per week is you can add another strength workouts. Okay, these next 2 levers, I can argue that they're the most important ones you can pull, but they're not really tangible for fat loss, but it's indirectly kind of building the foundation. The second tier C lever that you can pull is you can get more sleep. Now, it's not like if you just sleep like from 7 to 8 hours or 6 to 7 hours that you're all of a sudden going to be shredded because sleep burns like a shitload of calories. That's not the way it works. But what sleep is going to do essentially is going to help you with all the things I talked about. Because if you're not sleeping well, it's going to be hard to work out. It's going to be hard to decrease your calories, more in that 1 second. It's going to be hard to walk more. And as you know, guys, if we're not sleeping properly, we feel like crap, we're unmotivated, and we typically get these hunger cravings, right? So what sleep essentially does, or I should say lack of sleep does, is number 1, it's not going to make you recover well from your workouts. But number 2, and most importantly, is it's going to really increase your hunger cravings. So if you're trying to eat less, from what I talked about before in a tier A lever, but your sleep is at like 5-6 hours, you can see how this could be potentially a bit of an issue for you, right? So if you're doing everything, you're trying to do everything correctly, let's say, but your sleep is like very low. And when I mean very low, I'm kind of talking like under 7 hours. And I get the odd person can function off like 6 and be fine, but try to increase your sleep, guys, because you're going to feel better. You're going to move more indirectly because you have more energy, and then you should be able to decrease your calories without feeling like complete crap, essentially. And the last number, guys, before we rank them in order from which one you should be doing first to last, and this kind of ties into the get more sleep, but you got to reduce your stress. Now, this doesn't mean if you meditate for 10 minutes a day, you're going to turn into Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? That's not the way it works. But just for all the reasons I talked about for sleep. I'm not going to repeat it right now. Reduce your stress will help you with everything in your fat loss journey. And if you're more stressed than me watching a Bills game on a Sunday afternoon, then it's going to wreck your nervous system and it's going to make everything a lot more challenging to do. So now that we got our 7 levers in place that you can pull from, let's say most important to least important, we're going to rank them though in order from which ones that you should be doing first, because there's a big difference. And I'll explain when I get into my rankings right now. All right, guys, I got my list from which ones you should be doing first and which ones you should be pulling last. Now, 2 things that are very important here. Number 1, make sure you only pull 1 or 2 levers at a time. Like, you don't want to pull all 7 all at once because that wouldn't end well. So pick 1 or 2 levers at a time. And number 2, this will sometimes vary from person to person. Because, for example, I talk about the step count. If you're already at like 14,000 steps per day, that probably wouldn't be a lever that you'd be pulling first, and you just go to the next one underneath it, if that kind of makes sense to match your lifestyle. So I got my list right here. I might peek over because I might forget them a little bit here. But the very first lever that you should pull, if you don't really already have this, is you should be sleeping more. That's just a low-hanging fruit, guys. Because if you aren't sleeping right, I already talked about it, it's going to make everything just so much more challenging to do. The second lever that you're going to pull, and this is a very important one, it's a tier A lever, is you're going to walk more. So again, if you're under 10,000 steps per day, this should be the lever that you should be pulling right away. If you have lack of sleep and you aren't moving enough, I would just do these two levers and a video right now, and you can come back to the other ones if you do get stuck down the road. The third lever that you can pull is increase your protein. Again, this only applies if you're eating a sufficient protein level, and I consider a sufficient protein level about 0.8 grams per pound in body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds, 160 grams of protein. If you're eating kind of like that, you're fine. But if you're under that, simple lever to pull. That way you can increase your protein and then decrease your carbs and fats. The fourth one is just increase low intensity cardio. So again, if you're doing like 0 right now, just kind of look at it. This might be an easy lever for you to pull, where you might just have to spend, 1 or 2 sessions doing extra cardio for 20 minutes per week. That can help you increase your calorie output, which can be beneficial to you in terms of getting over that weight loss plateau. The next one is reduce stress. I can argue this kind of ties into sleep, but I'm not a therapist here. But if you guys are stressed out, just do the best you can to reduce your stress, because it's going to help everything from what I said. The sixth one, now this one may be a little bit shocking for you, because this was a tier A lever. Lower your calories. So you might be thinking, like, why is this a tier A lever, but why are you pulling this 6? Have you ever seen the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You get 3 lifelines, right? You don't want to waste your lifelines all in the first couple questions, because you're basically screwed, right? You want to try to save that lifeline that's most important to the end. It's the same thing now when it comes to, getting over a weight loss plateau. If we can kind of keep our calories high and still kind of get progress, and then once we've made some progress, we still kind of have that lifeline or that lever to pull, in this case, lowering our calories, then it just makes it so much easier to do, just like in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Because if you're at the $100,000 question and you have a good lifeline that you can still use, that's fantastic. If you don't, you're kind of screwed. When it comes to weight loss, same idea, guys. If you can make progress and then have this in your back pocket and use it when you need it, absolutely need it, that's been a game changer for you. And the least important lever that you can pull, essentially, is just add another strength workout. So again, if you're at 2 to 3, this can be a little bit more important, especially if you're more at 2. But if you're at like 4 to 5, then I would say just disregard this one altogether. Please let me know, guys, did this help? If so, leave me a like and subscribe. I'll link the video at the end. I can't remember. I said I was going to link something, but I'll go back and rewatch it. I'll link it right here for you guys. And please leave me a comment if you enjoyed this video. We'll talk soon, guys. Thanks for watching the end, as always.